What's up, Pokeball fan? It's your host, Poke right here, filling out my March Madness bracket. So let's get this started. And what we're going to do is go right into the East region first. We got UConn versus Stetson. I think Stetson is a very good 16 seed, but they're just no match for UConn. We're going to go with the Huskies here. FAU versus Northwestern, very good game right here. I'm kind of 50-50 torn on it. I would prefer Northwestern if I had a choice. FAU has really kind of looked meh the last couple months, ever since conference play, especially. I want to say Northwestern, but I'm gonna go with the team who made the Final Four last year, which is FAU. San Diego State versus UAB. I'm going to keep this simple. I'm not a big fan of San Diego State this year, but UAB is not a good team. Auburn versus Yale. Same thing as UAB. Yale, I don't think is that good of a team. We're going with Auburn with ease. BYU versus Duquesne. Very good game. I think if BYU is shooting lights out, BYU is going to be very dangerous in this tournament. We're going with the Cougars here of BYU. Illinois versus Morehead State. I don't think Morehead State is that good of a 14 seed. I think Illinois is going to win with ease. Washington State versus Drake. I'm going to go with the upset here. I think the teams are very evenly matched, but I really think DeVries is such a great coach for Drake. His son is an incredible player for Drake, and it's in Omaha, Nebraska, which favors the Drake crowd. We're going to go with the Drake here. Iowa State versus South Dakota State. I'm going to go with the Cyclones here. Big, incredibly good team. Incredible defense. We're going with Cyclones. Let's go down to the West region here. UNC versus either Howard or Wagner. I think Howard's going to beat Wagner, but UNC's going to win this game. Mississippi State versus Michigan State. Very good matchup. Mississippi State has excellent big men, but I gotta trust Tom Izzo in March, even though I didn't believe they really deserve to be in the tournament. You can never doubt Tom Izzo in March, especially when he's seated around like that 7 to 10 range. He's like Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. You think that, oh, Syracuse has no chance of making a run. Yeah, they're going to prove you wrong real quick and make a Final Four run or go deep in the tournament. Give me Tom Izzo and Michigan State. St. Mary's versus Grand Canyon, very good game. I'm kind of 50-50 torn on this, but I'm going to go with the Gales here. Alabama versus Charleston. I got the upset here. I'm going to go with Charleston and Pat Kelsey. This is going to be an absolute shootout. Both teams have elite offense. In the elite offense, it's going to be first one to 90 possibly winning this game. I got the Cougars of Charleston, though. Clemson versus New Mexico. Let's just say New Mexico was disrespected by the selection committee. This team, in my opinion, was safe as long as they didn't get upset by Air Force. But they beat Air Force, okay. But they beat Boise State. Oh my goodness, that is a freaking good win. What do they do next? They beat Stevens and Colorado State in the Mountain West semis. Okay, at this point, I'm like, they're a damn lock. And then they go into Saturday and beat San Diego State. And I'm like, 8-9 game possibly? Nope. They're a 11 seed, and the committee said they were a bid stealer. They had to beat San Diego State. Are you kidding me, man? We're going with the Lobos. Baylor versus Colgate. Colgate's not that good this year, and Baylor, their guard play is just way too much. Give me the Baylor Bears. Dayton versus Nevada. Dayton's looked a little off since the A10 season started. I'm going to go with the Wolfpack in Nevada. Blackshear, Lucas, Davidson, 3 incredible players for Nevada, and Alford can downright coach. Give me Nevada. Arizona versus Long Beach State. Y'all might call me crazy, and I might be a little crazy, but give me the beach or the dirt bags if you wanted to talk about baseball. Give me Long Beach State in the upset. Monson was fired right before the conference tourney, but that didn't matter. The players wanted to play for him and redeem his legacy, and they won the Big West championship, and they're gonna beat Arizona in back-to-back years. Arizona is going to lose to a 15 seed. It's going to be an incredible story. We're going in the South region. Houston versus Longwood. Like Stetson, I think Longwood is one of the best 16 seeds. I thought they could have been a 15 seed even. But Houston's just going to be too much. Give me the Cougars of Houston. Nebraska versus A&M. Very good game. But I just gotta trust Wade Taylor and A&M to pull this off. I think this is going to be a very high scoring game, a very good game, but I think A&M is going to be too much. Wisconsin versus James Madison. I am going with the upset here with James Madison. Not high on Wisconsin whatsoever. And James Madison knows how to win. The Sun Belt was a decent conference this year, and they did absolutely incredible other than App State, and they beat Michigan State in the first game of the season, I believe, and I believe that was in East Lansing, which was a really big win at that point. Give me JMU. Duke versus Vermont. I'm going to go with Duke here. I think Vermont is one of those teams I could see pulling off the upset. I'm going with Duke. Texas Tech versus NC State. Give me the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, guys. This team was looking really good at the end of the year. Yes, they got killed in the Big 12 semis versus Houston, I believe, but that doesn't matter. Texas Tech is going to be NC State with ease. Kentucky versus Oakland. I'm going to go with Kentucky. This offense is incredible. Campy can coach downright. He's a great coach. He's been there for 40 plus years, I believe. I believe he started coaching there when he was like 28 or 29, which is an incredible story. And he's built that program up from a D2 program to, Horizon League champs and consistently contending in the Horizon League. But give me Kentucky just dominating the scoreboard, going to score 90 to 100 points. Florida versus Boise or Colorado. So I think Boise is going to win their first ever tournament game, but that is against Colorado. Give me Florida. I get that they had their big man get injured, which is devastating, but this Florida Gators team is very dangerous, and I think the ceiling for Florida is extremely high. Marquette versus Western Kentucky. Let's just say if Kolek is out, they're possibly going to get upset against Western Kentucky, because Western Kentucky is one of those 15 seeds that are pretty dangerous. I really like their coach. He came from Corpus Christi last year, but if Kolek is out, it could be closer than expected, but still give me Marquette. If Kolek is back, Marquette is going to be dangerous. So Purdue versus Montana State or Grambling. I think that this playing game of Montana State versus Grambling is going to be very close. I'm leaning towards Montana State currently, but that's going to be a very good game. But give me Purdue. They're not going to lose to a 16 seed again. Give me Purdue. Utah State versus TCU. Woo, this is a good game. Utah State is having an incredible year. They just find ways to win games. But this TCU team with Jamie Dixon as head coach is extremely good too. I think TCU has one of the better all-around teams in the country, and that says a lot for a 9 seed. Give me the Horned Frogs here. Gonzaga versus McNeese. This is going to be a popular upset, but let me just tell y'all that McNeese played a bunch of nobodies in the Southland Conference. The Southland Conference is arguably one of the worst conferences in all of basketball. If McNeese didn't win that conference, it would have been a 16 seed representing that conference. That's how bad this conference and competition was for McNeese. Gonzaga, I didn't think deserved a 5 seed, but give me Gonzaga here. Kansas for Samford. I'm going to go with Samford. This offense is extremely incredible. Kansas has been a little rusty lately, and with Dickinson and McCullough being in doubt for the tournament, sounds like Dickinson's going to be okay, but McCullough is still very, very questionable. And I think Kansas is going to need McCullough against Samford. South Carolina versus Oregon, very good game. I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. Dana Altman is an incredible coach, and this kind of reminds me of 2019 Oregon when they made the Sweet 16. They were a 12 seed and had to win the Pac-12 tourney to make March Madness, and that's what they did this year. They won the Pac-12 tourney to get 11 seed and be a bid stealer. But South Carolina just finds ways to win. They remind me of Providence a couple years ago when they played South Dakota State as a 4 seed in March Madness and then made the Sweet 16 and gave Kansas a run for their money in the Sweet 16. South Carolina, yes, when they lose, it's downright ugly. But when they win, they just find ways to win. And give me the Gamecocks here again over Oregon. Creighton versus Akron. Not going to talk much about this game. Akron has an incredible big man. I believe he led the nation in rebounding. At least he was leading it at some point deep in the season. But give me Creighton. I think Kalkbrenner matches up real well against him. Texas versus Virginia or Colorado State. So I'm not really a big fan of either of these playing teams, and I'm not a big fan of Texas either. I think this is going to be a very ugly performance. I got Colorado State beating Virginia, but I got Texas beating Colorado State. Tennessee versus St. Peter's. Sorry, St. Peter's. Y'all don't have Shaheen Holloway anymore. Y'all don't have Doug Eder anymore. Give me Tennessee to beat y'all. So we're going to go to the round of 32 here. And in the East region, UConn versus FAU. FAU, you made an incredible run last year, but this team looks very shaky this year. Just lost to Temple. Give me UConn with ease. I get that ever since 2017, the reigning national champs have lost in the first weekend every year. I'm not concerned about either of these opponents for UConn. So UConn to the Sweet 16. Book it. We got San Diego State versus Auburn. I'm going to go with Auburn with a pretty easy matchup here. I'm not sold on San Diego State this year. Auburn, though, is really looking good. They absolutely killed Florida in the SEC championship game. Impressive performance. Give me Auburn. BYU versus Illinois. I'm really iffy on this game. BYU is this type of team, if they shoot the 3 ball well, they're going to win this game. If they're cold, though, I got Illinois winning. I'm going to lean towards BYU shooting lights out because of Illinois being a little weaker on the defensive end. We're going to go with BYU right here as an upset. Drake versus Iowa State. This is an interesting battle. 2 Iowa teams going at it in Omaha. But give me Iowa State. I think this is going to be a very good game. I'm leaning towards a low-scoring game as well. I got the Cyclones winning. We got North Carolina versus Michigan State. I think this is a really incredible game. But I need a 1 seed going down in the first weekend. And I think this might be it. Michigan State is that type of team when they're being slept on, which I'm sleeping on them. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think they really deserve to make the tournament with their resume. But that just means they're going to be real dangerous and surprise a lot of people. Give me the Spartans over North Carolina, which is kind of crazy because I had UNC going far in several of my bracketologies this year, and I said maybe a month ago they were my second favorite team to make a run in March Madness, and I got them losing in the first weekend, which is downright crazy. St. Mary's versus Charleston, very interesting game. St. Mary's, incredible defense. Charleston, incredible offense. Who's going to win this game? With it being in Spokane, I believe I saw, I got to go with St. Mary's. They know how to play in Spokane. I believe they beat Gonzaga on the road earlier this year, actually. I think they split on the road. Both teams won on the road. Give me St. Mary's beating Charleston. We got New Mexico versus Baylor. This is a really interesting game. I think both teams are capable of making the Final Four in this region. If I remember right, I had Baylor in the national championship in my last bracketology video, and I had New Mexico in my Final Four, if I remember right. So that just speaks volumes again on this matchup. Both teams have really high ceilings and incredible guard play. But I'm going to go with the Cinderella here. We're going with the Lobos. Dent was out against San Diego State. I believe he had flu-like symptoms. But House is incredible. Mashburn, incredible. And then you got the big men, too, that don't get enough credit. JT Toppin is an incredible freshman. Barely was a 4-star recruit. He wasn't even a top 100 recruit this past year, and he's looked incredible this year. And don't sleep on Joseph. Extremely good defender, great rebounder. This New Mexico team, guys, if you aren't paying attention right now, this New Mexico team is going to be poised to make a deep run. Nevada versus Long Beach State. Woo, we got this is, let's just say this right now. This is the upset region. The West region is the best region when it comes to upsets. And let's just remember the last three tournaments, the most chaotic region was this bottom left region. In 2021, UCLA was 11 seed and made the Final Four. In 2022, you had St. Peter's going to the Elite Eight in North Carolina, making the Final Four as a 8 seed. It was 8 or 9, and they actually made the national championship that year too. And then last year, you had K-State going to the Elite Eight, but FAU going to the Final Four with Fairleigh Dickinson going beating Purdue. So this bottom left region is always chaotic, and it's going to be chaotic this year as well. The West region is the best region for upsets. Just remember that. Nevada versus Long Beach State. Give me the upset. Long Beach State is going to win this and continue their Cinderella story for Coach Monson. We're going to the South region now. Houston versus A&M, Battle of Texas Schools. Really good matchup. Wade Taylor is incredible for A&M, but that Houston defense is too incredible as well. And they got some good scores out as well. Cryer, Sharp, Shed, all three of them are incredible guards that are going to put up points for Houston. James Madison versus Duke. James Madison Dukes versus Duke Blue Devils. The battle of the Dukes right here. And I'm going to go with the Dukes. James Madison in the upset. We got that 12 seed in the Sweet 16. Texas Tech versus Kentucky. I'm going to go with the offense of Kentucky continuing the run. Great team, and we're going to go with Kentucky. Florida versus Marquette. I am going to go with the upset. This is an interesting game. Kolek is out. Kolek possibly might be out, and Florida's big man is out. I'm just going to go with Florida. I think Kolek is a much bigger issue for Marquette. So we got Purdue versus TCU. And so I'll just say it. the two 1 seeds I'm most hesitant about and considering picking a upset for is North Carolina and Purdue. Those are the two 1 seeds I'm most hesitant about. And I'm really thinking that I had Michigan State over UNC. I'm going to go with Purdue over TCU. And I really like TCU, but this game is played in Indianapolis, which is going to favor Purdue massively, going with the Boilermakers. Gonzaga versus Samford. This is going to be a shootout, guys. Give me Gonzaga, though. South Carolina versus Creighton. We got the upset. Gamecocks find ways to win. We're going to keep them running. Texas versus Tennessee. I'm going with Tennessee and Dalton Connect. I get Barnes is a massive choker come March, but this is his best team I've ever seen. And we got Barnes versus his old school in Texas in that round of 32 matchup. That's going to be a real good one, guys. So we got a Sweet 16 matchup right here. UConn versus Auburn. And this one I'm having difficulties on. I'm really thinking UConn is a great team, but Auburn's looking real good too. I'm gonna skip this one right now and go back to it. I just gotta think a little more about it. BYU versus Iowa State. Battle of the Big 12 teams. We're going with Iowa State though. We got Michigan State versus St. Mary's. I'm going with the Gales here. Great run by Michigan State up to this point, but St. Mary's, I'm really high on this year. Their Mahaney reminds me of a young Jimmer Fredette. And y'all might be like, are you kidding me? How do you compare Mahaney to Jimmer Fredette? And I'll just say this kid is a sophomore, and by his senior year, he is going to be a National Player of the Year candidate. Mark my words, Mahaney is an absolute stud. New Mexico versus Long Beach State. Gonna go with New Mexico, and we got 5v11 matchup right there. We're going to the South region right here. Houston versus James Madison. I'm gonna go with Houston here. Just too much for James Madison to compete with. Kentucky versus Florida. Gonna go with the offense at Kentucky. This is when Florida's run ends without their big man. Kentucky might have the most talented team in the nation. So we're going with Kentucky. And this is a first time in the 2020s that they've made the second weekend in my eyes. That's something to think about, guys. Something crazy. And now we're going to the Midwest region. Purdue versus Gonzaga. This is a really interesting matchup. Another one that I'm struggling with. UConn and Auburn and Purdue Gonzaga are two I'm really struggling with. I'm not really high on either of these teams. That kind of speaks volumes about this region, especially the upper half of this region. I'm going to go with Purdue here, though, but by Thursday, I might change my mind. Tennessee versus South Carolina, going to go with Tennessee. They split their series this year. I believe both teams won on the road, but I think Dalton Connect's going to be just too big in this matchup. And we're going back to the East region here. We got UConn versus Auburn. This is tough. Like I said about the Purdue Gonzaga matchup, I might be going back and forth until Thursday. And right now, we're going Auburn. Yeah. Just a gut feeling. I think UConn got really screwed with their region going against Auburn and Iowa State possibly. I think that's a bit of a screw up by the committee. Sorry, UConn. But Auburn versus Iowa State, going with the Cyclones, this is going to be a really good matchup too. And I'll just say, if UConn beats Auburn, I'm still going with the Cyclones. Close game regardless, though. Houston versus Kentucky. I'm gonna need a 1 seed in the Final Four, guys. There's only been twice that I remember since I've been watching March Madness since 2009 that no 1 seeds made the Final Four. 2011 and last year. I just don't see it happening back to back years. I'm going with Houston in this matchup, but wouldn't shock me if Kentucky wins it. We got St. Mary's versus New Mexico. Sorry, St. Mary's. I'm going to go with the Lobos here in this matchup. Really incredible team, like I've said earlier. Going with UNM. Purdue versus Tennessee. Going Tennessee. And if it's Gonzaga, like I said earlier, possibly going to be Gonzaga, I'm still going Tennessee. I'm really confident that Tennessee wins this region. And that sets up a Final Four of a 1 seed, two seeds, and 11 seed. I'm just gonna say, I believe since 2000, I forget the year. It's like 2010, I believe it is. Team seeded 5 or lower has made the Final Four, and this year it's gonna be New Mexico, I think. But we got Iowa State versus New Mexico in the Final Four. Really good game. Great guard play by both teams. New Mexico scores a bunch of points. Iowa State plays incredible defense. I'm going to go with the Cyclones to end New Mexico's run. And we got Houston versus Tennessee. This is going to be a really good game, too. Great guard play. Dalton Knecht versus Shad Sharp Crier. Incredible game. But I'm going to go with Tennessee. This has been the team I've been riding high with for the past couple months. And we're going with Tennessee against Iowa State. Really good national championship. And even before this stat that I thought about, I was going to go with this team. But since 2017, every national champion came from the right side of the bracket. And we're going with Tennessee to continue that streak. And for this game, I'm thinking it's going to be like a 74-68 type game, which I believe, trying to think how much that is. I think that's 142 total points. So 74-68 is my score prediction for that game. And we are going to submit this bracket with Tennessee as your national champions. Guys, I really enjoyed this video. Just remember, tomorrow we're going to do our collaboration bracket. Me, Dan, and our special guest. Y'all will find out and see who that is. And then Wednesday, Dan is going to post his own bracket. So keep an eye out for those 2 brackets. I'm out of here. Signing out is Pope, and we're going with Tennessee as your national champions. Have a good one, guys.